All right, here we are, the Collective Perspective. I am with Ivy Mix. Pretty excited to talk to you. I guess if some people don't know who you are, just give a quick introduction.
So my name is Ivy Mix, and I am the owner and operator of Leyenda in Brooklyn, New York. We're a Latin-inspired cocktail bar and restaurant. I am also the founder of Speed Rack, which is an all-female bartending competition and breast cancer charity. And I am recently the author of Spirits of Latin America, a book that's kind of ancillary to my work that I've done at Leyenda over the past 5 years. Kind of a celebration of culture and cocktails within Latin America.
Let's talk about New York City hospitality industry and get right into it. Reopening. Give it to me straight. The good, the bad, the ugly.
New York has been ugly. It's not a lot of good as far as, well, I take that back. It's been really hard. I am pretty active. On a national level, I am on the advisory board for the Independent Restaurant Coalition, and then that led me into being on I don't know what you would call me. I'm like one of the people who runs the New York Hospitality Coalition as well. So I've had opportunities to talk with people that not everyone has. And still, as someone who should probably know more than 99% of bar and restaurant owners in New York City, I'm still confused. And I still don't know what's going on. And I have like a direct line into the chief of staff of Bill de Blasio. So like, imagine if I'm confused what like the Indian restaurant on the corner or thinks. Like they're probably just beyond confused. So it's been tough. There's been a lot of miscommunication. There's been a lot of confusion with rules being put forth, people giving press conferences and then rolling back what they said, rules being put forth and 2 days later changed. In politics, there's a big draw across the country for different cities, different states to keep on moving through their phases of opening, right? We're in phase 1, we're in phase 2. Okay, so theoretically right now, New York City is in phase 4, and yet restaurants we're kind of just left at phase 2. Okay, we're in phase 4, yay phase 4, and restaurants are like, except for us, and we're a huge part of the economic industry of the state and particularly the city. That's been frustrating. There's been different guidelines, with reopening. It was a big deal when we got to reopen, and I will say, like, it was really great that Cuomo and de Blasio could agree for once on letting us have the parking spaces in front of our establishments to use the seating because we can't seat inside right now. So that was great until they changed all the rules. So they submitted rules and said, hey, here are some rules. Build your little parquettes. In San Francisco, they call them parquettes. They have to be, this measurement, da-da-da-da-da. So we built ours that day. A day later, they come out with rules saying, actually, they have to be this big, this high. So I had to pay my general contractor paid twice as much as materials, and then I got a violation the day after they made the changes. It's completely screwed up. And, I got on the internet and I was like, Twitter sphere, boo, and luckily David Wondrich picked up my tweet, retweeted it, and then Pete Wells talked about it. So it was in the New York Times, and that was great. Like, just like, hey, every time you fine us, every time you make us spend money that we can't afford to spend, we haven't had any income, or maybe 5% of our income, maybe 10 if you're lucky, doing really active to go, but we're screwed. And every time you fine us or give us a new, ordinance, or, you have to do this and you have to spend this money, you have to buy umbrellas, you have to buy tents, you have to buy lumber, you have to buy PPE, you have to do all these different things. Like, we don't have any money, we don't have any money. So it's been hard. But the good side is that it's really good to serve people again.
Let's talk about guests coming in. How's the interaction with you, your staff? Are you coexisting?
Mostly, yes, we are coexisting. When we first opened up for more consistent to go, it was amazing. When we first started doing food, we did cocktail to go for a while, and it was whatever. But when we started doing cocktail to go again, food and cocktail to go, and then we moved to being open outside, the amount of support was outrageous. Just we're so happy you're here. We're so happy to support you. We really don't want you to go under. You're a fundamental part of our community and our neighborhood. And it felt great. And honestly, and I keep on saying this, people have been serving us. A lot, especially at first, people were like, they're not coming to like sit at the bar and have the Leyenda experience. The Leyenda experience doesn't exist right now. COVID doesn't allow for it. So people are coming for good drinks and good food. That part is still the same. But our level of hospitality, not there. For a long time, we didn't even have any spirits. Like if you're like, I want tequila, it was kind of like, well, we're afraid of getting our windows smashed in. So we don't have anything in our back bar, But now things are slowly getting better. I would say like 85% of people are really awesome and nice, and the other 15 aren't. And basically, we have a no mask, no service thing, and we, whenever people come up, okay, we can seat you, like no worries. I'm in Brooklyn. I'm on the like this weird 3-corner neighborhood of like, it was like Bogram Hill, Cobble Hill, Carroll Gardens. Like back in the day, it was all Carroll Gardens, and the real estate agents got a hold of it. So now there's different names. But like that's where we are, and it's like mostly white yuppies.
Yeah.
So like, everyone's like, everyone's very like liberal, wears their mask, everyone wants to get better. But there are exceptions to the rules. I had a guy on Tuesday, I had this guy come up and sit outside. I was like, oh, can I just like pull up a chair and sit here with my friends? And I was like, not really, the spacing thing, like, would you mind waiting? Or like standing here? I don't mind if you stand here, but like I need to wait until the table opens up that I can put you guys at. Also, do you have a mask? He was like, no. I was like, oh, okay, well, we can't serve you unless you have a mask. And he was like, fucking serious? And he got really mad, and I was like, yeah, I'm really sorry. Like, and I kind of looked to his friends who'd been there for the last 35 minutes, and I was like help, and they were just all, you don't have a mask? I was like, well, let me go inside and see if I have one, because usually we do for that instance. Like, okay, here's a mask if you need one, which costs us money, by the way. Masks are freaking expensive. You
give it to them. They don't buy it from you. You just give them a mask.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, we don't have any. I'm really sorry, but we actually don't have any masks right now. And he was like, well, go home. And he like stormed off, and you win some, you lose some. Yeah. We've gotten some,
So what is, you mentioned you were doing to-go. What's happening with, to me before, it looked cool. It looked like everyone was just lining up, social distancing, grabbing cocktails, walking around. Maybe you could fill me in on what happened.
So this is one of the things where the confusion sets in. So you've always had to sell food with drinks to go. That's always been the law. Always, always, always. People haven't abided by it, or people were like, okay, we'll just give you a little sack of chips. And I personally am shocked that people are still complaining about it, because this was before you could sit people outside. Now you can sit people outside, so I feel like it's kind of taken away the problem. But before that, when it was just to go, people were getting their bottle or their cup, walking, like, here's the door, doop, right, like just 10 feet in front of the door, sitting on the curb and drinking, and then groups would congregate, and then there's no social distancing, and then pictures ended up on the internet of 35 people squished in front of this place. Then we open up outdoor seating, and in my opinion, things got a lot better, but you still have, the bad actors in the equation out there. Then last Friday or last Thursday, sometime, Cuomo gets on, does a press conference, and basically alludes that like all outdoor seating is going to be like no more to go. Sorry, no more to go. He says like this is going to be the end. I'm part of all these different groups, right? My business partners are like, what the hell? Like Tixie, I'm on vacation. They're like, what's happening? I'm on the New York Hospitality Coalition. People are like, what is this madness? And I'm just like, we hired lobbyists with the New York Hospitality Coalition, so we write the lobbyists, we're like, what the hell's happening? And turns out, whoops, Cuomo misspoke. So this is the shit that's happening, and it's madness, right? So we know this because we have the privilege and are doing the work to be part of this organization to get that information, and we can spread it as much as we can. There are people who just don't know, and there's also people who just don't freaking care. So right now the deal to go is, as it's always been, you have to serve food, which means people can't come up to your window and just buy a margarita to go. Are people still doing that? Yes.
What is considered food? Is it chips and hummus? Is that like?
It can be. So there was a time when people were saying that you had to sell the equivalent in food costs as drink costs, which is like, wow. This is crazy. And then I'm not even sure if that was rumor or law or what it was, but now as it stands, you can sell to go and you can sell in person. The issue is that never ever, like one of the beauties of owning an establishment in New York City is that you don't have to worry about people. I mean, you do, but no one drives here. Right. So when someone's drinking in your establishment, you're not like, oh boy, I hope you don't kill someone when you leave here. You kind of do, but for the most part, people are leaving, they're taking public transportation, they're getting into Ubers or taxis or whatever, and you're okay. And you've never been able to sell to go. Like it's never been a thing. Like here you go. Now, all of a sudden, open liquor laws are our concern. They never were before. And all of a sudden, we are in charge of 100-foot radius around our establishment, which is such BS. There's literally 5 restaurants in a 100-foot radius of Leanda. And I can lose my liquor license if anyone is in a 100-foot radius drinking an open container.
Wow.
So it's nuts. It's nuts. It's so insane. That's never been our problem. And I don't really understand why it is our problem now. Like, I think that if the onus should go on to the clientele and bars and restaurants, you know, like, okay, if you're serving margaritas or, you know, Negronis or, you know, whatever the hell, pina coladas to go in a to-go cup, that has never been okay. It has to be sealed. It's always been the case, right? So when you do that, you're taking a risk because you know this is going to be an open container, like immediately. That's the purpose of it, right? Yeah. But at the same token, if you put like a little piece of tape over the sippy cup mouth, then it wouldn't be open, right? It's just a matter of if people start cracking down on the customer base. Like if you are outside, let's just use Leanda as an example. If someone's outside Leanda walking down the street and they are sipping, you know, a to-go bottle, they've opened up the cap and they're like sipping their diluted margarita out of the cap and they get stopped and they're within a 100-foot distance, then that's my problem.
Why is that your problem?
Precisely, that's what I want to know. And I can lose my liquor license and be fined upwards of $15,000, which by the way would kill me. Like that would be the end of my business right now. $15,000 would be the end.
Have you been able to bring back some of your staff? What does that look like? Are they happy to be back?
It all funnels down to the Payment Protection Program. And the PPP, when it first started, it had a demand that you brought back 100% of your employees and that you spent 75% of your funds on paying those FTEs, those full-time employees, which for a business that is not open is insane. This is just basically the government being like, look, we don't have that many people in unemployment. It was the Trump administration being like, they actually have jobs, which is stupid because no, they don't. They're just getting paid from their establishment, from money from the government that comes from the same source, it's just through a different revenue stream. So people can't say, I'm unemployed. So technically, when you fill out your unemployment thing, you have to be like, I have not been offered work. Now, we couldn't even hire back everybody, even if we wanted to. We're running at 40%. So I would have off the record conversations and be like, on a scale of 1 to 10, friend, this is friend Ivy speaking to friend X, how much do you want to come back to work? Friend X was like, not at all. I was like, cool, boss Ivy is not going to ask you if you want to come back because then you can keep on being in unemployment. And you know, quite a few people were like, you know what? There's social unrest happening. There's a pandemic happening. I can take this time and do work in different areas and be financially pretty good. So, you know, the people who came back wanted to come back and we are paying them just as much and more actually than they would have been making on unemployment.
What do you think the next few months looks like?
I mean, I don't know. Like, hands up. I have no idea. But also, you know, in that confusing speech that Cuomo gave last week, he also extended our outdoor seating until October 31st, which is massive. Yeah. Massive. I also think that probably means that we won't have any indoor dining. I personally don't want any indoor dining. Right. I have no interest whatsoever of having people inside my space. Look at the rest of the country. Yeah, like you look at a map, it's like red and then like blue or like, you know, whatever you want to call it, green. Green over here. Like we're safe from New York and New England, right? And then like Oregon is oddly green and like, okay. But everywhere else is really having a hard time. Yeah. I don't see us opening up inside anytime soon. So I think that the to-go thing, we're going to start working on serious catering deals and like, we're going to call it Stayenda. So like you order from us, we give you the kit, we give you everything, we bring it to your house, we set it up, we leave, we come back, we get it.
Very cool.
Because it's like, the future is grim. Yeah. I mean grim. It's bad.
Yeah, and I always see the lists that come out of places that have closed, which is super depressing. Places that I used to go to 15, 16, 17 years ago. Talking to you and you're open and doing stuff. I talked to a couple people the other day and they're not even open. You know, they're not even doing anything. And I'm like, I don't even know how they would last the next 3-4 months. I mean, have you heard? I mean, are people still trying to negotiate with landlords? How is that happening?
I mean, the deal is, so if lots of people in the restaurant industry did not apply for PPP because it was impossible, right? Lots of people are like, I talked to this guy last night, he came to the bar, and I forget which place he owned, you know, masks. I was like, what are you saying? But he was like, yeah, we closed. He was like, we have a fire hydrant in front of our spot, which means you can't do outdoor seating. They're like we
Oh.
our sidewalk's too small. We're a bar. We don't have food. He's like, so we close. Like we can't be open. And some people are like, you could bring back staff and try to go and like hope people walk up, but then you're paying staff all of a sudden,
Right.
and then your lights are on, and then you're making deliveries theoretically, or you're receiving deliveries, and like all these different things. Like you're having a lot of cash going out and not guaranteed cash coming in. So yeah, people are closing, and rent is still a thing. I'm a massive WNYC fan. And in the beginning of the COVID thing, I called Brian Lair and got through to Bill de Blasio. We had on our first conference call with him, we were like, thing number one is rent.
Yeah.
How about this idea? How about you cancel real estate tax? Bill de Blasio was like, no way, never gonna happen. So then we're like, okay, then banks have to cancel mortgages. It's never gonna happen, right?
No.
It's trickle down. The only way it's gonna happen is trickle down.
Has to be.
You can't screw over the landlord, and this is a country and a system that values people who have money. So until there's a nationwide thing like, okay, landlord has to put forth how much money they spend every month on just their establishment, like how much money is going out, and then you have to pay, X a percent of that. Like that's what needs to happen.
And I guess that's why you see these places going under. People can't afford it, and they're just like, I'm done, I'm out. Well, listen, again, thank you for your time. I wish you the best of luck, and
thank you. Same.
let's see what happens over the next 2-3 months in this industry.